Throughout the journey of life, human beings may yearn for many things: success, status, wealth, or love. Yet there is something deeper, quieter that we all seek: to be understood, to be heard, and to be acknowledged. Because sometimes love does not lie in grand gestures or sweet promises, but is instead wrapped within a sincere gaze or a simple phrase that reaches the deepest corners of the heart. This world is crowded yet full of loneliness. We may walk among the masses, laughing and talking, and still feel lost if no one truly sees us. And then, in just a single moment, when someone gently says, "I understand you," or "I'm listening," the walls of solitude within us begin to crack, allowing warmth to flow through. That is the power of words that seem small yet can transform a relationship, even an entire life. 4 short words, but when they come from sincerity, they become the key that unlocks connection, compassion, and peace. Let us step into the journey of discovering this power, to realize that sometimes we don't need to say much. We only need to say the one thing another heart has been waiting to hear. 1. I understand you. In every conversation, everyone wishes to be heard and understood. Yet in reality, most people communicate out of habit, as a social ritual. We easily begin a dialogue with polite greetings, but rarely pause long enough to truly care about the other person's feelings or inner state. That is why one of the most precious spiritual gifts we can offer someone is also the simplest. The 4 words, I understand you. The phrase, I understand you, is not mere politeness. It is a quiet affirmation that says, I am here with you. I have listened and I see your inner world. When someone hears this said with genuine care, it feels as if the doors to their soul are gently opened. They no longer stand outside waiting for acknowledgement. Instead, they find themselves stepping into a safe space where they are welcomed and accepted. The truth is, being understood is even rarer than being loved. Love can sometimes spring from desire, attraction, or habit. But to be understood requires patience, a deep attentiveness. When someone tells you they understand you, it means they have taken the time to listen, to place themselves in your shoes, and to set aside their own ego. I understand you is also a way of affirming that another's emotions are valid, that their inner world has meaning. Many people wear masks in their daily lives, hiding their vulnerabilities, worries, or sorrows for fear of being judged. So when someone truly understands and speaks those 4 words, their heart softens. The storm within quiets down. They find peace and relief. That relief holds a natural gravity, for no one wishes to cling to those who make them feel tense. We are naturally drawn to those who make us feel safe, comfortable, and free to be ourselves. Thus, I understand you is not merely a statement, but a key that opens the door to lasting connection. It also reminds us of an essential virtue, humility. To truly understand another, we must pause. Stop being preoccupied with crafting the next response or proving how clever we are. Humility means accepting that we don't need to win every conversation. We only need to be fully present with the person before us. When we say, I understand you, we are saying, I see your journey. I may not have walked it myself, but I can feel the shape of the path you've taken. And that alone is enough to ease someone's loneliness. They feel accompanied, recognized, and accepted without judgment. Today's modern world is filled with busyness, everyone rushing with work and worries. We are surrounded by countless relationships, yet sometimes feel hollow and alone because few truly understand or empathize. That is why upon hearing the words, I understand you, one feels touched to the depths of the soul. The strength of these 4 simple words lies in sincerity. If spoken merely as a communication tactic, they lose all meaning. But when uttered from the heart, when you truly listen with empathy, they become a warm ray of light, gently soothing another's spirit. In essence, I understand you is not merely a phrase, but an experience. The experience of being fully present, of setting down one's mask and of being seen with respect. It is this very experience that makes the words so compelling, for within it, people find comfort, peace, and a sense of belonging. 2. That makes sense. In communication, one of the things people always long for but rarely receive is acknowledgement. Each time we share our thoughts or feelings, deep down we hope that others will not only listen, but also recognize the journey of our reasoning. That is why the 4 words, "that makes sense," hold such profound power. This phrase is not about absolute agreement. It does not mean that we must fully share the same viewpoint or accept everything the other person says. Rather, "that makes sense" is an acknowledgement that their way of thinking has its own logic, its own causes, its own meaningful process. And just that alone makes the other person feel they are not being looked down upon, not abandoned in the silent void of communication. In truth, many people share their stories or opinions with quiet hesitation. Will this person understand? Do I sound foolish? When met with silence or rebuttal, the soul retreats inward. But when they hear "that makes sense," it is as if their confidence is rekindled. That phrase is proof that their thoughts have found a place to rest, that someone has truly grasped their mental journey. What matters here is sincerity. If we say "that makes sense" merely to please, to smooth things over without truly listening, the phrase becomes meaningless, an empty shell. But when it arises from the heart, when it comes from genuine attention and empathy, it becomes a solid bridge connecting two souls. Take, for example, a debate. Two people may disagree, each defending their own view. Yet the moment one says, "I understand your reasoning, that makes sense from your perspective," the atmosphere immediately softens. The other person feels not entirely rejected, but recognized with respect. From there, they become more open, more willing to listen, no longer trying to win, but to understand. The Stoics once called this tolerance, allowing others to hold on to their own beliefs without needing to crush or impose a single truth. This tolerance creates safety within relationships. Others no longer feel threatened. They need not raise walls to protect themselves. And when they feel safe, they open up, share more, and the connection deepens. One of the reasons people often feel lonely is that their words seem to vanish into emptiness. They speak, they confide, yet no one truly acknowledges them. So when someone says, "that makes sense," they feel accompanied, no longer wandering alone along the path of their thoughts. They feel heard and respected. However, it's important to remember this is not blind agreement. Saying "that makes sense" does not mean we fully believe or abandon our own perspective. It simply means we understand why the other person feels or thinks as they do. That recognition alone is often enough to bring them peace. Because truthfully, people don't always need others to agree. They just need someone to validate their thought process. In our modern world, where people speak more than they listen, the phrase "that makes sense" becomes a balm for the heart. It signals that you haven't merely heard the words, but have received them, with both your heart and your mind. It shows that what they said has found a space within you. And that acknowledgement soothes them, helps them feel calm, and slowly they become attached to you, because in your presence, they feel free to be themselves. Ultimately, the magic of this phrase does not lie in communication techniques, but in genuine presence. When you say "that makes sense" with an open heart, you are inviting the other person into a safe space, one where they are allowed to exist fully as they are. And within that safety, trust is born. From trust comes connection. And that is the kind of natural, enduring attraction that needs no embellishment. 3. You're right. In daily life, most conversations and arguments revolve around one thing: who is right and who is wrong. Each person strives to defend their opinion, sometimes to the point of stubbornness. That is why when someone suddenly says the 4 words, "you're right," the entire atmosphere shifts. This simple phrase has the power to melt tension, ease conflict, and open a new door to connection. "You're right" does not mean we abandon our stance, nor does it mean we deny our own thoughts. Rather, it is an acknowledgement that within the other person's words or reasoning lies a fragment of truth, something worthy of recognition. And that small act of acknowledgement alone is enough to make the other person feel respected, seen, and valued in their way of thinking. In moments of tension, what people truly seek is not always victory in an argument, but the reassurance that their perspective is not meaningless. When someone hears the words, "You're right," they no longer feel the need to defend themselves or prove their point at all costs. The feeling of being acknowledged helps them lower their walls and open their hearts to the conversation. This reflects a profound maturity in communication, knowing when to step back and make room for truth, for fairness. Those who lack confidence often cling stubbornly to every fragment of their opinion, fearing that admitting another's correctness would make them appear weak. In contrast, a mature person understands that recognizing someone else's truth does not diminish them. Rather, it reveals wisdom, humility, and strength. Imagine a heated debate, two people going back and forth, voices rising, egos growing larger. Then suddenly one of them says, "What you said is right." Instantly, the temperature drops. It's no longer a battle of winners and losers. It becomes a calm, respectful exchange. The other person feels relieved, and from that moment on, they become more open to hearing your point of view as well. In reality, many relationships, especially romantic ones or family bonds, can grow stronger simply through moments of acknowledgement like this. When spouses, friends, or colleagues can say, "You're right" to each other, they are giving the gift of safety. The other person feels they no longer have to fight for respect. They can be themselves and still be seen. However, one must also be cautious. If this phrase is overused or said insincerely, it can turn into flattery or cheap appeasement, stripping it of all power. "You're right" only holds true value when spoken from the heart, when you genuinely recognize something worth affirming in what the other person has said. A single, sincere acknowledgement carries more strength than 100 empty agreements. What's fascinating is that when you are willing to acknowledge someone else's correctness, they too become more open to acknowledging yours. Because communication is inherently mutual. When you create safety, you invite openness. And through openness, relationships become lighter and more enduring. Acknowledging that someone else is right is also a sign of love for truth itself. A wise mind does not care who possesses the truth, as long as truth is found. Such a person does not see communication as a battlefield to assert themselves, but as a shared journey toward understanding. And that attitude, of walking together rather than standing opposed, is what makes one truly magnetic. Thus, "you're right" is more than a phrase. It is a choice. The choice to release the ego, to place truth and connection above the need to win. When we dare to recognize the truth in another's words, we are planting in them a seed of trust and respect. And once that seed is sown, it grows into a deep and lasting bond. In many ways, these 4 words, "you're right," are an art form. The art of bowing when needed, of recognizing when necessary, of valuing the relationship above the self. Those who can say, "You're right," sincerely are always respected, loved, and cherished. Because in a world where everyone is desperate to win, acknowledgement becomes a rare gift, one gentle enough to soften even the hardest hearts. 4. I'm listening. Among all the things people long to receive from others, listening is perhaps the simplest and the rarest. We live in a world overflowing with noise, where everyone wants to speak, to share, to express. But very few truly wish to listen. That's why when someone sincerely says, "I'm listening," it feels like a precious gift, a quiet balm for the soul. Listening is not merely staying silent while the other person talks. Many believe they're listening, but in truth they're just waiting for their turn to speak, nodding absent-mindedly while their mind prepares a response. True listening is full presence. It requires stepping outside the orbit of one's ego, ceasing to compare, to judge, to fix, or to control. When you say, "I'm listening to someone," you are opening a safe space where they can relax, where they are free to pour out what's inside without fear of interruption or dismissal. In that moment, you are not a referee, not a critic, not a superior voice. You are simply a companion, sitting beside them, allowing them to unburden what their heart has been carrying. The power of listening lies in how it allows others to feel that they exist. When someone is truly heard, they no longer feel invisible in the world. They sense that their thoughts, emotions, and experiences have worth. And when people feel that they matter, they naturally open up, trust more deeply, and grow closer to those who have listened to them. In a society where most conversations revolve around boasting, arguing, or judging, a person who truly listens becomes a rare light. Such a person is like a calm silence amid a noisy sea. People seek them out not because they speak well, but because in their presence we can simply be. We don't have to try, to prove, to perform, only to exist. "I'm listening" is not just a phrase. It is an unspoken commitment. I'm here for you. I'm giving you my full attention. And to truly live, this requires patience and humility. You cannot listen when your mind is full of preconceptions. You cannot listen if you're busy looking for faults or waiting for your chance to interrupt. True listening means setting aside the ego and opening the heart to receive the other as they are. Perhaps that is why listening is one of the purest expressions of love. Not only romantic love, but human love. For love is not merely about giving beautiful words, but about giving someone the right to exist, to reveal themselves, and to be accepted. Interestingly, when we truly listen, we also receive. Listening helps us see the world through another's eyes, widening our own perspective. We learn patience, empathy, and appreciation for human diversity. These experiences make us wiser, not only in relationships, but in life itself. Of course, like the other phrases, "I'm listening" loses its power when spoken without sincerity. The other person may not say it aloud, but they will feel the falseness in your eyes, in your tone, in your interruptions. Thus, what matters most is true presence, when your mind, heart, and body are all fully there together in that moment. One could say that these 4 words, "I'm listening," remind us that the greatest gift we can offer another is not clever answers or quick solutions, but complete attention. In a world that never stops rushing, having someone willing to pause, sit down, and truly listen can be more precious than any material help. And it is this kind of listening that creates natural attraction. Because people are drawn to those who make them feel safe, seen, and understood. They return not because you shine the brightest, but because in your presence they find peace and the worth of their own being. In the end, what makes us truly magnetic is not appearance, nor eloquence, but sincerity, the ability to make others feel heard, understood, acknowledged, and wholly present. Just 4 simple phrases. "I understand you, that makes sense. You're right, I'm listening." Yet when spoken from the heart, they can soothe weary souls, heal unseen wounds, and create bonds stronger than anything else. So you don't have to strive to be perfect in anyone's eyes. Just be fully present. Listen with your heart. Offer sincere acknowledgement, and you will become someone they never wish to leave. If these reflections touch your heart, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video, so that others too may discover the quiet power of listening and understanding. And leave your thoughts in the comments. Who knows, your words might be the spark that warms another heart in need.